In a world on the brink of annihilation, the powerful mage, our MC Setsuna Cromwell, leads humanity's last stand against the evil god Vindrake. Setsuna and his team fought bravely. Together they cast a massive spell that wiped out the monsters and cleared a path straight to Vindrake. Setsuna combined all 6 of their magic powers into one powerful attack, but even their most devastating spells proved useless, and Vindrake attacked back and the mages were overwhelmed. Setsuna was badly hurt. With no energy left, he still managed to land a small magic punch, and it actually hurt Vindrake. That gave Setsuna hope. But he couldn't keep fighting. Facing death, a magical necklace, the necklace of rebirth, gifted by his old headmaster, activates, sending him 10 years into the past. Setsuna finally opens his eyes to a friend of his, Leo, smacking him from behind, while telling him to stop spacing out. Setsuna is shocked to see Leo since he is supposed to have gone missing before the arrival of the evil god. Setsuna also looks around to see that he is in the Magic Academy building. With this, he confirms that he has gone back 10 years to when he could change the mistake that he made. Setsuna makes a silent vow that he is going to defeat the evil god the next time he fights him. Leo then taps Setsuna on the shoulder, telling him that it is his turn to go to the stage since they are currently participating in the ceremony of blessings. Setsuna finally pulls himself together, and he walks to the stage where one of the professors is waiting for him. Everyone's eyes are on Setsuna because he is considered to be the greatest genius in the history of the academy. Apparently, he is so talented that he has an affinity for every magic path available. It turns out that there are different paths in magic, and a special technique is needed to activate the magic. This is basically the reason why mages are required to choose a magic path, making it hard for mages to learn 2 magic paths at the same time, just like how hard it is to believe in 2 deities at the same time. The professor then asks Setsuna to pick the magic path that he wants. The professor is confident that he is going to choose the long-range magic path. Basically, this is the best choice for everyone who aims to be a mage. Since long-range attacks help to reduce the risk of getting hurt, it is the most sought-after magic path. In his past life, Setsuna became the strongest with the help of long-range magic, but in the end, it was useless against the evil god. Now that he has a chance to choose his path again, Setsuna takes his time before finally choosing a magic path that shocks the professor and everyone in the room. Leo remembers Setsuna saying he would pick the long-range magic, but he ended up picking close combat magic. Everyone is more shocked since close combat magic is considered to be the worst of all magic paths. The professor screams at Setsuna, reminding him that the close combat magic path is mainly focused on body enhancement, which means he can only attack when the enemy is close to him, as the name obviously implies. The professor reminds Setsuna that the magic path is basically an abandoned one because of how trashy it is. The professor fears that Setsuna is about to throw away his bright future, and Setsuna himself knows what everyone thinks about the close combat magic path. However, it was the only magic that actually worked against the evil dude, and Setsuna believes this is the only way he can take down Vindrake. Since he is convinced about this, Setsuna goes right ahead to pick the close combat magic path, and he binds with it. With this magic path, he is confident that he is going to be able to beat the living daylight out of the evil god. After he is done binding with the magic path, Setsuna smiles, while the rest of the room is left in a horrific state. The professor closes his book in frustration, while telling Setsuna how he planned to give him all the knowledge that he knows if he had chosen the long-range magic path. It turns out that the professor is the head of the long-range magic department, Cyrus Arclight. Cyrus angrily screams at Setsuna for not picking the long-range magic path when it would have obviously made him the strongest mage, and also given lots of credit to Cyrus as his mentor. Setsuna is no longer moved by all of these since he knows that everything will become totally meaningless in 10 years. Setsuna has until 10 years before humanity is defeated, and he has 5 years before Vindrake appears in the sky. Setsuna has some knowledge about the close combat magic path, but he rarely has any practical experience with it. Setsuna is left with how he wants to master the magic before the arrival of the evil dude, but while he is busy thinking about the future, Cyrus is just staring at him like a drum he wants to beat to death. Later on, the students are told to proceed to their respective field classrooms. This is when it finally dawns on Setsuna that he has no idea where the classroom for the close combat magic path is. Setsuna tries talking to some of his classmates, hoping that they are going to show him the way, but they just run away from him like he has some sort of disease. The students mock Setsuna, saying that he is done for because he chose the close combat magic. Setsuna cannot believe that all the students who were once swarming around him have started running away because he chose the close combat magic path. Since there is no one to help, he decides to help himself. He believes that there will be a map of the entire academy campus in the courtyard. He is on his way to the courtyard when he hears some students fighting in the area close to him. It turns out that a redhead girl is fighting some dudes, who took her brooch that was given to her by her mother. She demands that they return it, but they just laugh at her as they stare at the brooch, which can store mana. They believe that the item is too good for someone who is a trash commoner like her. Standing in the distance, Setsuna easily figures out that the redhead is from the close combat department and the 3 bullying her are from the long-range department. They taunt the girl, telling her to come and take the brooch by force, while mocking her for being a wielder of the close combat magic. The leader of the delinquents shoots a fireball at her, which she luckily dodges before being turned into barbecue. She is able to move very fast because of the agility provided by the close combat magic. However, she is still at a disadvantage because the delinquents can just continue shooting fireballs at her. The redhead angrily conjures a mana blade, telling the bullies that she will never let them take the brooch from her. The bullies are not in any way scared of the redhead and her mana blade. The leader of the delinquents taunts her, asking if her mana blade can reach him. He unleashes a barrage of fireballs at the redhead girl. She fails to dodge everything and ends up getting thrown to the ground. The leader of the delinquents makes fun of her, calling her a pathetic loser because no matter how strong she claims to be, She will never be able to reach the level of long-range mages. With the redhead on the ground, she has no way of dodging the remaining fireballs coming straight at her. Just as the fireballs are about to hit, Setsuna swings into action and he whips the girl out of the danger zone. This shocks the spectators and the delinquents. With the girl still in her arms, Setsuna acts like the perfect gentleman, asking her if she knows where the close combat magic department is, because he is looking for someone who can guide him there. The delinquents finally get a good look at Setsuna, and they realize that he is the school genius. This initially scares them until they notice the close combat magic crest on the back of his hand. The delinquents immediately assume that they can take on Setsuna because he is now in the trash department. They plan to beat him up as much as they like. Even Setsuna agrees that the magic path is weak, but he knows that it all depends on the way the magic path is used. With what he knows, he is confident that the magic path doesn't necessarily determine the outcome of a battle. As Setsuna walks up to the delinquents, the redhead tries to stop him, telling him that he might get hurt since the delinquents are seniors. However, the delinquents don't want Setsuna to have a change of mind, and they quickly attack him. As the fireball approaches Setsuna, he digs into what he already knows about the close combat magic. He concentrates his magic on the legs so he can get leg strength. With this boost of agility, Setsuna easily dodges the incoming attack, and before the delinquents know it, he has reached them. He leaps over them and lands behind them to get into their blind spot. Setsuna is excited by the way he is moving, and he wants more of it. Setsuna runs around the delinquents while making fun of them for only shooting fireballs since the fight started. He urges them to use another element, but the delinquents are already frustrated at this point. The leader of the delinquents cannot believe the agile movements that he is witnessing right in front of him. Because of how fast Setsuna is moving, the delinquent finds it difficult to land a single hit on him. However, he finally decides to let it all out. He unleashes a powerful fireball that heads straight for Setsuna. Setsuna has already gathered enough mana to conjure a mana blade, and he easily slashes the fireball, leaving the delinquents in disbelief. Even the redhead girl doesn't know that a fire attack can be sliced. Setsuna then explains that it is basically magic against magic and the proficient one wins in the end. Apparently Setsuna became the strongest in his past life because of his amazing control of magical power. Setsuna smiles at the mana blade in his hand and realizes that the magic might actually be more useful than he thought. He believes that he is going to be unstoppable if he combines the power with speed. The leader of the delinquents is not about to lose to Setsuna, and he decides that he is just going to use a larger fireball to take Setsuna down. His friends try to warn him and stop him from using a more powerful fireball because of the dangers it poses, and in addition to this, it will attract the instructors. However, the dude is not ready to listen, as he is already thinking of defeating Setsuna no matter what it takes. Before he can cast his spell, Setsuna disappears right before him. Before he realizes what is happening, Setsuna has reached him. Setsuna stares him in the eye before delivering a powerful mana-infused punch to his chest to throw him to the ground in pain. Those who are watching are shocked when they see the delinquent lying on the ground, totally out of commission. Setsuna, on the other hand, is proud of himself, and he realizes that he can actually fight much better as long as his target is in range. Meanwhile, the delinquents cannot believe that the weakest form of magic just took down their comrade like it's nothing. Setsuna stretches his hand toward the delinquents and demands that they hand over the girl's brooch. Without hesitation, they place the brooch in his hands before they end up like their fallen comrade. After giving Setsuna the brooch, the two delinquents drag their leader out of there in shame. Setsuna then turns around to give the redhead the brooch. She smiles like a golden retriever while thanking Setsuna for the assistance. With a bright mood, she finally introduces herself as Layla Rosewill while stretching her hands towards Setsuna. With no care in the world, she grabs Setsuna like her boyfriend, leaving the dude in an awkward position. She then asks him why he chose close combat magic. Since no one is going to believe his reason for picking the magic, he decides to ignore the question and just asks for directions to the close combat magic building. Layla then reveals that the orientation for the new students has begun, and they need to hurry. Layla then leads Setsuna down a lonely path, which obviously leads to the edge of the campus. Setsuna cannot believe that close combat magic is considered so trash that their department is located in a secluded area. Layla then smiles at Setsuna, telling him that she would like him to teach her how to make the mana blade that he used earlier. Setsuna doesn't think too much about this, and he tells her that it all depends on the control of mana. Setsuna is basically telling her the truth, since the magic can be used in many ways, depending on the circumstances. Setsuna believes that he will be able to bypass Vindrake's dispel if he masters the close combat magic. At the same time, he remembers something important, and this is the fact that the headmaster once showed him the back of his hands, and it turns out that he has been bound with two different magic paths. It is common knowledge that someone can only have one magic path. Setsuna recognized the first crest as the crest of summoning magic, but he didn't recognize the second one. Setsuna wanted to know, but the headmaster told him that he would know it when the time comes. The headmaster assures him that he is going to entrust the knowledge of the second magic to him. However, Setsuna never got to learn of the other magic till the evil god arrived and the headmaster was killed. Apparently, Vindrake quickly killed the headmaster because he sensed the danger posed by the old man's second magic path. Now that he has a second chance, Setsuna wants to make sure that he learns the magic to change the fate of humanity. Momentarily, they arrive at the close combat magic department. However, Setsuna is still worried that with his current status, he might not be able to get the headmaster's recognition. Upon arriving at the entrance of the department, they find a creepy-looking professor already waiting for Setsuna. He scolds Setsuna for coming late, and when Layla tries to explain, he just shuts her off, saying he doesn't give a damn. The professor tells Setsuna that he might be impressive on the outside, but the moment he joined the department he became trash. He points his fingers at Setsuna, but Setsuna slowly pushes his hand off while scolding him for being rude. He reminds him that he is a professor in the department, and he is supposed to have some shame since everyone is calling the department trash. This gets on the professor's nerves, and he angrily grabs Setsuna by the shirt. Setsuna calmly replies that he is confident that there are several possibilities to be explored in close combat magic. The professor cannot believe the nerves on Setsuna, and he decides that he has to break his pride. He then asks Setsuna to show him what he has, since he is confident. There are a bunch of other students striking a bunch of boulders as if they are looking for gold. The boulders are so tough that they can't even get them to crack. Apparently, cracking the boulder is the first test needed to determine the student's rank in class. It turns out that there is a crystal stuffed inside the rock, and the students need to extract it as fast as possible. The professor smiles evilly at Setsuna, telling him that those who can extract the crystal will be punished. The professor then screams at the other students, berating them for being stuck with the task for over an hour without any significant progress. The students justify their incompetence by saying the rock is a really tough material to crack. They don't believe that they can crack the sturdy rock with the trash magic that they have learned so far. One of the students even believes that the professor is being hard on them because he hasn't been promoted. The professor then leads Setsuna to a free rock, and he demands that Setsuna show him the possibilities that he is talking about. To make things hard for Setsuna, he tells him that he has just 10 minutes to crack the rock and extract the crystal. Layla is shocked when she hears this, because it is practically impossible to break the rock in 10 minutes. In addition to that, the rock that the professor is giving to Setsuna is bigger than the others. The professor doesn't care about this, as he reminds Setsuna that his 10-minute mark is already going down. Setsuna then walks up to the big rock, and he places his hand on it to feel the texture. The professor assumes that Setsuna is already regretting his actions, and he suggests that he bow to him and apologize. Just then, Setsuna shocks the professor, telling him that all he needs to crack the rock is 10 seconds. The professor almost believes that he has gone deaf when he hears this, and he is forced to ask again to confirm. Even Layla thinks Setsuna is being reckless. The professor smiles, believing that Setsuna has no chance because the rock is denser than the others. Apparently the professor's time record for breaking the rock is 30 minutes. The professor then decides to ride on Setsuna's word, and he tells him to break it in 10 seconds. Setsuna then prepares to break the rock. He pulls together a wave of mana around his hand to conjure the mana sword. He knows that he has to do something eye-catching to get the headmaster's attention. Since he has better things to aim for, he is not ready for a mere rock to get in his way. Without holding back, he swings his sword hard toward the rock. When the sword hits the rock and doesn't have any effect on it at first, the professor is already talking trash, asking Setsuna how he would prefer to be punished. Suddenly the rock shatters into small pieces, leaving him in utter disbelief. Setsuna extracts the crystal inside the rock and presents it to the professor, but this only makes him angrier. Even Layla is shocked as she doesn't want to believe that Setsuna actually pulled it off. The other students were also shocked that Setsuna was able to destroy a huge rock in literal seconds, while they had been struggling with the small rock in front of them. Someone immediately comes up with the assumption that Setsuna might actually be stronger than the professor. The professor further decides to be shameless by saying Setsuna is a cheater. He points out the fact that the rock is very hard, which makes it hard to break in even 10 minutes, not to mention seconds. Setsuna is shocked when he hears that the professor needs 10 minutes to break such a rock, and he tells him that he might start considering quitting his job as a professor, since he is trash one at that. The professor Zakari gets really mad, but before he can do anything stupid, his senior, Lionel, arrives behind him and grabs him by the head, asking him if he is bullying students again. Lionel scolds Zakari for causing a ruckus that interrupted his nap, and he tells Zakari that Setsuna didn't cheat. He explains that Setsuna read the flow of mana inside the rock, and he only targeted the weakest spot on it. Lionel tells Zakari that he doesn't see any point in his being a teacher if he can't see through his students' techniques. Lionel then decides to teach Zakari a lesson by announcing to the students that Zakari is about to perform a mana guard, but this only leaves a horrified expression on his face. Before Zakari can even get the time to argue, Lionel has taken up a position, ready to punch Zakari. He tells him that he should have no issue blocking the attack if he is truly training. Zakari starts begging, saying he would never do such a thing again. But Lionel doesn't pity him as he punches him. Zakari tries to block, but the power from the punch still sends him flying into the nearby wall. Setsuna is impressed by the level of power running through Lionel, and he concludes that he is no ordinary person. After he is done dealing with Zakari, Lionel comes laughing with Setsuna like nothing just happened. With his cigar in his mouth, Lionel tells Setsuna to do his best in the department. Setsuna believes that Lionel is trying to downgrade what the department can do, and Setsuna lets him know that he plans to be the best in the department and even defeat students from other departments. Lionel is impressed by Setsuna's determination, and he assures him that he will always be available to teach him magic if that is what he wants. He then steps forward to address the students, and also tells them that he is the head professor of the close combat department. He then tells them that they are about to decide on the representative for the exchange match. Apparently, the exchange match is a major event where the 8 magic departments in the academy compete to determine which is the best. One representative is chosen from each of the departments, and the winner is determined through a tournament. In his past life, Setsuna had won the tournament with the long-range combat department, and this gave him recognition with the headmaster. Because of the importance of the tournament, Setsuna figures out that he can't afford to miss out on it. Just then, Setsuna notices fragments of the black rock on the ground. This is when Lionel reveals that Setsuna is not the only student who has passed the test. Apparently before he showed up, someone else had arrived and extracted the crystal. The crazier aspect of the whole thing is that he did it with just his fists. Setsuna turns to his left and realizes that the fragments that he is looking at flew from such a crazy distance. He takes a better look at the monstrous student who did it, and he realizes that it is Drago Oakred. Lionel then tells Drago to come forward and walks up to Setsuna with his intimidating height and build. He asks Setsuna why he chose the department when he clearly had an affinity for other magic paths, much better than the close combat magic path. Setsuna replies that there are things he needs to do with close combat magic, but Drago shuts him up, telling him that there is nothing he can do with such a weak body. Drago shows off his aura while boasting of the fact that his family has excelled in the close combat department over generations. To live up to his family's expectations, Drago claims he has been training his body for years. Drago lets off a massive aura that shakes the other students, but Setsuna remains where he is. Drago then throws a punch at him, telling him to fight him because he doesn't want someone as weak to become the representative for the department. Setsuna remembers that Drago was the only outstanding student in the close combat department in his past life. Setsuna smiles when Drago challenges him, and he gladly tells him that he has accepted his challenge. Lionel is glad that the two managed to reach an agreement, and he tells them that the match between them will take place in 1 week. Drago walks away while telling Setsuna not to think of running away before the 1 week comes knocking. He even wants them to fight to the death since Setsuna is claiming that he is a close combat mage. The students are already envisaging who is going to win, but they all believe that Setsuna has no chance against Drago. Layla smiles at Setsuna, asking him if he can win. Her smile quickly fades away when she hears Setsuna say no. Apparently, Setsuna is quite aware that he is no match for Drago in his current state. However, he has a secret plan to counter this. He walks into the woods and Layla runs after him, asking him where he is going. They soon arrive at a big tree and Setsuna reveals that it is a secret training spot, which only he knows. He touches the tree, and a green aura immediately flows out of his body. Setsuna grins while telling Layla that he plans to become 3 times stronger with the help of the secret training spot. Layla is blown away by the large size of the tree, and she concludes that it is a sacred tree that is more than 1,000 years old, no less. Setsuna, on the other hand, is glad that the tree is resonating with him just like it did in his past life. Layla then asks him about the green aura emanating from the tree, and Setsuna reveals that it is the blessing of the sacred tree. Setsuna mentions that the blessing can only be given to those acknowledged by the sacred tree, and thanks to his holy mana attribute, he is able to recover his mana. Setsuna managed to find the tree in his past life, and he knows that no matter how much he trains, he can't run out of mana as long as he is near the tree. Setsuna grins at the possibility that he can train however he likes without reaching his limit. Layla is glad to hear this, and since Setsuna helped her get her brooch back, she believes that it is time for her to help the dude too. She makes a fist bump in the air, but Setsuna is genuinely confused as he has no idea what the girl is doing. Inside the close combat department training room, Drago shows off his amazing build and strength as he pushes weights that should be impossible. Drago gets bored with pushing weights, and he asks Lionel if there are still more of the black rocks available in the yard. Lionel is concerned, and he asks him if he plans on breaking all of the rocks, but Drago walks out, telling Lionel that he has no plan to break them. Instead of breaking them, Drago has something else planned. Drago turns out to be a crazy dude as he does push-ups while carrying one of the rocks on his back like it's nothing. Meanwhile, Layla is watching him train, and fear grips her. Without a doubt, she believes that whoever receives a punch from Drago the way he is, will die. This creates a sense of panic within her, and she starts rushing over to where Setsuna is. Setsuna, on the other hand, is sitting by the tree and he is reading a textbook which covers martial arts. Layla is surprised when she gets to the tree to find Setsuna perfectly relaxed, as if there is nothing wrong with him. She scolds him while also telling him that Drago was doing push-ups with 5 black steel rocks stacked on his back. Setsuna is not surprised by this because he already knows what Drago can do to train his physique. Setsuna then assures Layla that she has nothing to worry about because what he is currently working on is also part of his plan. Blue aura emanates from his eyes as he stares at the textbook in his hand. Layla is genuinely confused, and she asks Setsuna what he means by this. Setsuna explains that a physical boost is none other than a reinforcement and controlling the nervous system with mana. Basically, a boost to the legs means focusing on the said legs, and the same thing applies to the hands. With what he has explained, he tells Layla that to boost his memory, all he needs to do is focus on his head. It turns out that Setsuna has gone through a bunch of books while Layla was not around. Setsuna finally stands up from where he is sitting, and since he has gotten all the techniques in his head, he believes that it is time to practice them. Setsuna stands in the clear and throws a well-balanced kick before unleashing his mana sword too. Setsuna makes a graceful swing, but he doesn't stop there. He continues swinging, leaving Layla in awe. Layla admits that Setsuna's method is impressive and she has never heard of it in the past. However, Setsuna is not impressed with himself because he knows that he still has a long way to go. Setsuna soon gets overwhelmed by all the techniques he is trying to fuse into his body at the same time, causing him to crash to the ground. Layla is worried about him, but he tells her not to because he is merely pushing himself to the limit with a physical boost. Because of this, he is focused on boosting his healing. The blessing of the sacred tree kicks in, and in no time, Setsuna's rough hands turn out to be as good as new. Layla is worried, and she suggests that Setsuna find another way to train himself instead of pushing himself to the extreme. Setsuna argues that he needs to train harder because he can't afford to face Drago with just trash methods. Setsuna points out the fact that Drago has been training himself in close combat magic for years. He tells Layla that he needs to follow the same painful procedure over 1,000 times till the week runs out. Layla is shocked when she hears this because a single cycle is painful enough as it is. Setsuna smiles when he hears this because he doesn't think it is painful enough. He remembers when he was young and was at the orphanage. He couldn't use magic, and every day he was always practicing. Even though he failed countless times, Setsuna didn't give up. He only kept practicing. And even though his growth was slow, he was getting better with every step. Setsuna assures Layla that he has nothing to worry about as long as the painful method helps him get stronger. Setsuna resumes training, and Layla joins him. Together they practice their swings, push their bodies to the limit, and do the same all over again. In no time, Setsuna is already doing push-ups with rocks on his back. Layla watches in awe, and she realizes that Setsuna has been working harder than anyone, contrary to the belief that he is carried by talent. Finally, D-Day arrives, and Setsuna and Drago show up in the ring. Drago is disgusted just by seeing Setsuna, and he reveals his surprise that the dude didn't run away. Setsuna smiles, telling Drago that he has no intentions of running away since he is the representative of the close combat department. Lionel stands by the ring to officiate the match, and once the two are ready to have a go at each other, Lionel starts the match. Setsuna makes the first move as he dashes toward Drago, aiming to get the advantage. He tries to land a punch, but Drago blocks it. Setsuna tries another kick, but Drago still holds his hands to block the attack. However, the force from Setsuna's kick pushes Drago backwards. Setsuna is shocked to see that none of his hits landed because Drago used Mana Guard to withstand everything. Drago now looks furious, and the moment he slightly reveals his stare, Setsuna can sense the killing intent from Drago. Before Setsuna realizes what is going on, Drago has reached him. He sends a punch directly to Setsuna's body that releases a massive aura that affects everyone in the direct line of his attack. Fear grips Layla when she sees this, believing that Setsuna is dead. However, when the smoke clears out, Setsuna is seen in a crouching position, blocking Drago's attack. The students cannot believe that they are watching a fight between two students who just got promoted. Setsuna, on the other hand, easily figured out that he would have been dead meat if he had taken Drago's direct hit. Drago throws another punch at him, but he easily weaves to dodge the punch. This doesn't make much difference as Drago follows through with a right-hand punch, aimed directly at Setsuna's head. Setsuna still manages to block the attack, but Drago is already getting pissed that Setsuna has been doing nothing but defend since the fight started. Drago taunts Setsuna, telling him that he is nothing but a weakling and that everything he is doing is his limit. Layla, in the stands, is already worried that Setsuna is still no match for Drago even after he pushed himself to the limits multiple times. Lionel, who is an experienced tutor, sees the fight from another angle. He knows that to everyone Setsuna is being pushed back. But what they don't know is that Setsuna is perfectly blocking all of Drago's attacks with his mana control. Drago remains on the attack while berating Setsuna for being one of the elites who have been looking down on close combat magic. Drago claims that he and his family have suffered immense humiliation because they were born in a family that wields the close combat magic. However, Drago is determined to change the narrative with his efforts. Drago gets serious, and he unleashes a mana sword. Without hesitation, Setsuna does the same. The fight goes from a fist fight to a sword fight. They swing at each other with immense power, aiming to take each other's head off. Setsuna combines speed with his movements as he dodges all of Drago's attacks. He acrobatically leaps into the air, but this pisses Drago off, and he follows him. He tracks him till he reaches the ground and tries to smash him to pieces, but Setsuna gets out of the way before it is too late. The ground suffers Drago's attack and gets smashed, but he doesn't hold back. Setsuna is pushed backwards, but Drago still follows through with another strike. Drago finally has him pinned down, and at this moment, Setsuna remembers the harsh things the other students were saying about him when they found out that he had picked the close combat magic. Remembering this, Setsuna tells Drago that he understands his frustration. However, Setsuna lets him know that they are both aiming higher. Setsuna finally kicks in and he pushes Drago back by destroying his mana sword with just a swing. Drago is shocked when he sees the difference in Setsuna's movements. Setsuna almost cuts Drago in half, but he slightly dodges the strike. Drago takes Setsuna's words about aiming higher into consideration, and he also gets serious. Drago throws a left-handed heavy punch, aiming to catch Setsuna off guard, but Setsuna easily reacts to this and dodges it. Setsuna moves past him, and in no time, he reaches Drago's blind spot. However, before he can land a hit on Drago, he turns around. Drago puts his arms up to block the attack, but this clearly takes a toll on him. Lionel realizes that Setsuna is overloading Drago's offense and defense, using his exceptional mana control. However, he still doesn't see a clear winner between the two. As the fight progresses, Setsuna figures out that he has to find an opening if he's to break through Drago's tight and hard defense. Drago jumps backwards and he whips out another mana blade. He swings his sword very hard at Setsuna, but Setsuna dodges the strike. Setsuna figures out that Drago has resorted to using all of his mana to land a powerful and devastating attack, aiming to finish off the battle. Since he already knows this, Setsuna is able to time his movement perfectly to dodge Drago's strike. However, Setsuna is now a step away from falling from the ring. He looks back to see how close he is to losing, but Drago, on the other hand, is pleased that he finally has Setsuna backed into a corner. Drago believes that he has taken away Setsuna's chance to use his footwork. With this in mind, Drago cooks up a powerful attack that has his mana boiling. Layla sees this and fear grips her, wondering what Drago just did. Drago then charges toward the supposedly cornered Setsuna with a powerful fist punch, aiming to punch him straight into the afterlife. However, this turns out to be a big mistake on Drago's path. He manages to land the hit, but it turns out to be nothing more than Setsuna's afterimage. It turns out that Setsuna has a way of retaining his afterimage at a position where he is standing if he continues using his mana. By the time Drago realizes what is going on, Setsuna has leaped right over him. Before Drago can turn around, Setsuna swings his sword to finish him off. Drago tries to make a last-ditch attempt to move, but Setsuna's sword diagonally cuts through his chest. Setsuna's attack moves through Drago's body, causing him unimaginable pain as he screams out. Lionel finally realizes that Setsuna relied on a counterattack to take on Drago's scary and consistent attacks. Lionel figures out that they both fought well in the match, but this time around, the match is already concluded. He raises his hand and declares the match over while revealing that Setsuna is the winner. The obvious winner is Setsuna, since Drago is already lying down in severe pain. Layla jumps up in joy to celebrate Setsuna's win, and the other students are also left in awe. Drago tries to stand up, even with the intense pain that he is feeling. The students see this and conclude that Drago is one tough dude. Drago holds his chest in pain, and he figures out that the final blow from Setsuna was perfectly adjusted not to be fatal. Setsuna then stretches his hand toward him to help him, but Drago asks him one question. Drago wants to know what Setsuna is fighting for. Setsuna then reveals that he is fighting so that he doesn't lose to anyone. In addition to this, he is fighting really hard to make sure that nothing is taken away from him, and to achieve this, Setsuna aims to be stronger than anyone else. Drago's eyes light up in curiosity when he hears this, and he finally admits that Setsuna is quite strong. Drago has no choice but to painfully stand up and admit defeat while Setsuna praises him for living up to his reputation. Setsuna believes that Drago might end up being a major factor in the fight against the evil dude. Lionel then walks up to Setsuna to raise his hand as the winner, and also to tell everyone watching that Setsuna has been picked as the representative of the close combat department. Some days later, Lionel tells Drago that it is time for him and other representatives to meet face-to-face in preparation for the exchange match. Lionel then urges Setsuna to behave himself when he is there. Setsuna acknowledges the advice as he pushes the door open. He steps into the room, and everyone's eyes immediately shift to him. Since he is the representative of the close combat department, the atmosphere around the other students changes toward him. One of the other representatives boldly makes fun of Setsuna, telling him that he is about to add to the shame that is already inflicting his department. Setsuna stares at the crest on the dude's hand, and he figures out that he is the representative of the enchantment magic department. The dude decides to further taunt Setsuna as he stands up to walk up to him and tell him that he is his opponent for the first round. The enchanter makes fun of Setsuna, reminding him that the close combat department has not won any of the tournaments in the past 100 years. He continues by saying the close combat department is known to stay at the edge of the school for muscle training without doing anything else that is useful. Before he finishes this statement, Setsuna steps on his legs, causing him a bit of pain. Setsuna coldly tells the dude that they must be pretty rude in his department, since they lack the proper way of exchanging greetings. The enchantment rep tries to say something, but Setsuna cuts him off, telling him that he doesn't mind if the close combat department hasn't won in years, because they are definitely winning the current year's competition. The enchantment rep argues with Setsuna, telling him to stop spewing trash. Just then, a voice from behind joins in the conversation, suggesting that they wait until the first match before they start arguing. Setsuna realizes that everything is just playing out the way it did before the regression. It turns out that the voice addressing them from behind is none other than that of the headmaster. Carol from the summoning department excitedly welcomes the headmaster, telling him that she is eager to show him what her department is capable of. Setsuna knows who she is, and he realizes that Carol still retains her friendly nature. He remembers that Carol gave him a really tough time during his battle with her before the regression. Setsuna knows that he came out victorious in the match, but figures out that he needs to be more careful. The headmaster finally decides to speak, and he congratulates the students for getting picked as their respective departments' representatives. The headmaster talks about how glad he is that 8 talents have managed to gather. The headmaster then reveals that the tournament will be conducted in a one-on-one format, and their opponents are determined at random. Apparently, the close combat department will be facing off against the enchantment magic department, which specializes in infusing mana into objects in life. The second match is between the healing magic department that creates miracles and supports allies, and the long-range magic department, which defeats enemies without allowing them to step any closer. The third match will be between the formation magic department that imbues various powers within magic arrays and the summoning magic department, which commands mythical beasts from other worlds. And then for the final match, it is going to be between the special magic department that doesn't fall into any category, and the alchemy magic department, which is capable of permanently altering substances. The headmaster lets them know that the inter-school exchange match is basically a practical lesson to get ideas from different magical departments. The headmaster tells them that the match will be held in 10 days, and they are free to learn new magic before then or focus on what they already know. Whatever they do is up to them, but the headmaster says he is looking forward to seeing their fighting spirit. Carol excitedly acknowledges the speech, and just as the headmaster is about to leave, the representatives bow to him. Setsuna then rushes after the headmaster as he walks through the lobby, since this might be his only chance to talk to the old man. The headmaster already knows that he is the close combat representative, and Setsuna tells him that he has a request to make of him. Setsuna doesn't hold back when he asks the headmaster if he will be willing to teach him his magic if he manages to win the tournament. The headmaster tries to play a fool, and he tells Setsuna that his summoning magic will be useless for him, but Setsuna cuts in, saying he is talking about his other magic. The headmaster hears this and immediately becomes hyperreactive. He lets out a terrifying aura that almost cripples Setsuna while asking him how he knows about his other magic. Setsuna can easily sense that the headmaster is wary of him, but he knows that the headmaster's second magic is pivotal to winning against the evil dude. Because of this, Setsuna decides that he is not going to give up. Setsuna then mentions that he might not be able to tell the headmaster the reason, but he should know that the victory of the close combat department after 100 years should mean something. He stretches his hand to the headmaster, asking him if he is not hoping for such. The headmaster finally figures out that Setsuna might not have a hidden agenda. He then tells him that he is going to teach him the second magic on the very day he wins the championship. Setsuna bows to the headmaster, thanking him for the assurance. However, the headmaster lets him know that it is not going to be an easy path. Setsuna doesn't care because he is ready to show the headmaster his resolve during the tournament. The headmaster is pleased to hear this, and he walks away. Later that day, Setsuna sits down alone to enjoy a delicious bread, which Layla told him about. While relaxing, Setsuna figures out that he must do everything he wants before the day of the tournament arrives. Suddenly, he is attacked by a golem. He almost gets his head crushed, but he manages to block it. It turns out that the golem is from the enchantment representative. Setsuna is surprised that he is getting attacked by the enchantment representative. The enchantment representative tells Setsuna that he can't wait for the match because he plans to deal with Setsuna before then. He calls Setsuna a mere trash who had the audacity to embarrass him. Setsuna mocks him, telling him that he is only suffering the consequence of his actions. Before Setsuna knows it, the enchantment rep already has a bunch of golems behind him. However, he decides to dissolve the golems when he figures out that it would be bad for him if it gets out that he is bullying a weak dude from the close combat department. He then walks away, telling Setsuna that he is going to be more prepared during the official match. Setsuna is impressed that the enchantment rep is able to provide mana to a bunch of matter to control them, and he considers him a fairly talented person. Setsuna stares at his bread on the ground and he is emotionally hurt that the dude wasted his bread. The following day, Lionel gathers his students and tells them that it is their job to prepare for the exchange match, and to do this, they are going to analyze the battle between Drago and Setsuna. Lionel asks the students if they have finally understood what they lack, and they all say yes. Lionel then asks Drago to be the first person to reveal his weakness. Drago mentions that he lost control of his mana and emotions. Lionel then asks Setsuna the same question. Setsuna reveals that he lacks basic power, and he was basically losing to Drago when it comes to pure strength. Lionel is pleased that the two understand their weaknesses, because this is their first step to growth. Lionel then suggests that they work on improvement. Layla then asks Lionel if the match will serve as training for the exchange match. Lionel is pleased with the question, and he reveals that Setsuna will be going up against the enchantment rep, Joel, who according to Setsuna, is capable of using multiple golems for both offense and defense. Since golems have physical bodies, their basic style of fighting is similar to that of combat magic. Layla is blown away when she hears this from the instructor. Lionel then reveals that he is going to give them each a task. Lionel wants Drago to focus on speed while acting as multiple golems, so he can attack from all angles. For Setsuna, he is going to have to deflect Drago's attacks so he can launch a counterattack. Drago prepares himself for the training match, and he assures Setsuna that it is not going to be like the last time they fought each other. Setsuna smiles, telling Drago that he is looking forward to that. Drago charges towards Setsuna and he throws a left-handed punch straight at his face, but Setsuna dodges the strike. Setsuna believes that he has perfectly blocked Drago's attack until he realizes that another strike is heading straight for him. Setsuna immediately figures out that his reaction speed is slow. Lionel is impressed with the fact that Drago has managed to balance his speed and power. Drago looks like a mirage while throwing punches at Setsuna. Setsuna tries to predict his movements, but he fails at a point and almost gets his head thrown off by the giant dude. However, he is still able to dodge the strike, leaving Lionel pretty impressed. Lionel tells Setsuna what combination he needs and Setsuna acknowledges the advice. Setsuna takes a step backwards and tries to land a counterattack. In the end, Setsuna and Drago crash to the ground in exhaustion. Drago admits that Setsuna gave him a run for his money. Lionel then commends the two, telling them that their movements were not bad. Lionel lets Setsuna know that he should be able to handle 4 or 5 golems in a couple of days. However, Setsuna knows that he is not allowed to let his guard down, no matter how much and how hard he trains. Lionel is pleased with the fact that Setsuna easily understands everything he wants to teach him. Lionel knows that Drago is well versed with the basics of close combat, without a doubt, but at the same time, Setsuna's sense is nothing short of exceptional. In no time, the D-Day arrives, and the arena is packed with students, teachers, and other spectators. The headmaster climbs the podium to address everyone. He lets them know that only one representative out of all 8 will be crowned the strongest. Just as expected, there are bookies placing bets on the match. Surprisingly, the delinquent that Setsuna beat up is betting on him to win the match. Some of the students turn around to look at the calm dude, Actor, who is representing the long-range department. Basically, he will be the one to face whoever wins between Setsuna and Joel. Actor wears a calm but very deadly look. Apparently the matches change stages randomly, and the first round will be happening on a desert-type stage. Joel smiles evilly when he sees this because everything just worked in his favor. His classmates cheer him on, telling him to take down the weak Setsuna. Layla screams back at the boys, telling them to watch whether Setsuna will still remain the underdog or not after the match. Layla almost jumps up to go beat them up, but Lionel holds her down. Setsuna feels no pressure whatsoever, and he smiles when he sees this. With the 2 contestants ready, the referee starts the match. Joel then whips out a fragment of the black steel rock and smiles at Setsuna, asking him if he knows what he is holding in his hand. Without a doubt, Setsuna knows what it is. Joel is glad that he knows, and he reveals that it is a fragment that is needed to make a golem by fusing it with sand. Joel drops the fragment, and he infuses it with sand to create a scary golem. Joel confidently tells Setsuna that a blade wouldn't be able to leave a scratch on the black steel golem. It turns out that he has more than one fragment with him. He opens his pouch to unleash a few other fragments sitting in there. He drops everything in the sand, and he turns them into golems while evilly smiling at Setsuna, saying that he has nothing but a 1 in 10,000 chance to win. There are so many golems that Layla is gripped with fear. To make things worse, Joel reveals that the golems can be made infinitely on the sands that they are standing on. Joel lets Setsuna know that he has no chance of reaching him. Some of the students believe that the match is already decided, and they tell Setsuna to surrender before he gets hurt. Joel also acts all high and mighty, as he tells Setsuna that he is willing to listen to whatever he has to say. Just then, Setsuna drops a bombshell that cracks Joel's soul and efforts. Setsuna lets him know that he is disappointed that this is everything he can produce at his best. Joel is enraged when he hears this, and he loses it. He immediately orders the golems to go after Setsuna. The golems rush at Setsuna, and they all jump at him at the same time, leaving a cloud of dust that disrupts visibility. Joel laughs, telling Setsuna that he just reaped the reward of messing with him. The spectators cannot see anything in the arena because of the dust covering everything. Unknown to them, Setsuna is easily cutting down the golems like they are tissue. He is not even moving from where he was before destroying the golems. When Joel finally sees Setsuna, the golems have turned to nothing but broken pieces, and Setsuna reveals that he has already mastered the black steel rock. Joel cannot believe his eyes, because what he produced are exceptionally tough golems. Just then, Joel starts to remake the golems. reminding Setsuna that he already said he can infinitely make them. Setsuna then reveals that, when it comes to close-quarter combat, nothing beats close-range magic. Setsuna lets him know that no matter how many golems he makes, he won't lose, because all they know are basic combat moves. Setsuna leaps toward the newly formed golems, and he easily cuts them down in a flash. Setsuna swings his sword around like cutting butter, but Joel is not ready to give up. He reaches into his pouch to bring out more fragments, but Setsuna reaches him so fast before he even gets the chance to blink. Setsuna lets him know that he has just found himself in an unfair match. With no way to move, Joel gets punched right in the face. His glasses fly off and he coughs up blood as he is sent across the arena. The spectators are still unaware of what is happening inside the dust cloud. Momentarily, the cloud dust starts to disperse and they spot just one student standing. Before they can get a good view of who the standing student is, the referee announces that Setsuna is the winner of the first match. Joel is lying cold on the ground while Setsuna smiles because he just managed to win the first game. Layla smiles and rejoices when she realizes that Setsuna just won. Setsuna's haters cannot believe their eyes when they realize that Setsuna won his match, which is something that has not happened in years. Most of them don't know how Setsuna was able to defeat Joel. Some assume that Joel was unable to maintain his mana output, which leads to his self-destruction. With this assumption, they conclude that Setsuna only got lucky and shouldn't have been able to win against Joel. However, Cyrus knows that Joel didn't self-destruct, and Setsuna beat him fair and clear. Because Setsuna won, Actor finally decides to take him seriously. He figures out that he needs to set up against the dude. With this, the competition continues, and the second match begins. Setsuna returns to the stands, where Layla excitedly welcomes him. She asks him if he plans to watch the match, and he says yes. He wants to see if there is anything he is going to learn during the match. The departments currently going against each other are Summon and Formation. Since the start of the match, Carol of the Summoning Department has gained the upper hand. She sits on the back of a scary wolf that unleashes ice-type attacks at the Formation dude. However, the Formation representative is trying to get close to Carol by cutting down the attacks. Setsuna is impressed by the representative of the Formation Department because his movements are quite impressive. Setsuna wonders if he will be able to do the same in close-quarter combat. Layla admits that the movements from the other departments are pretty cool, but she wishes to get stronger in close combat magic only. Setsuna then finally asks her why she chose close combat magic since there are other magic paths that she could have chosen. Layla then reveals that she was once saved by a close combat mage a long time ago. She narrates that she was playing with her little brother in the forest when they were suddenly attacked by a grizzly bear. Layla thought they were done for until a close combat mage rushed in to help with the situation. The mage punched the bear to death, and since then, Layla has made it her dream to become a close combat mage so she can start helping people around her. Layla chuckles nervously while saying her reason might be childish, but Setsuna quickly corrects her, saying it is not childish. Setsuna tells her that as long as she has a goal in her heart, she will definitely become stronger. Layla smiles like a baby when she hears this. The two are having their good moments when Leo suddenly shows up. It turns out that Leo was the second strongest in the long-range department after Setsuna. Leo pats Setsuna on the shoulder, telling him that he watched his first match and it was impressive. Leo immediately assumes that Layla is Setsuna's girlfriend. Layla's face is totally red while telling Leo that he is wrong. Momentarily they get to the second round and the first match is happening between long-range and close combat. The stage selected for the battle is the Scorching Hell, where the participants cannot afford to fall because it is the end for them. When Drago sees the lava-infused stage, he realizes that it would be pretty difficult to approach the opponent. Lionel believes that the stage might be a difficult one, but it is quite advantageous for the opponent. It turns out that Cyrus was the one who arranged the stage because he is trying to get his department to win by all means. Cyrus aims to teach Setsuna a harsh lesson for choosing the close combat department. Meanwhile, Layla has gone to talk to Setsuna, who is studying. There is a vase on the table and Setsuna quickly tells her not to touch it because it is a contact-triggered magic tool. Setsuna lets her know that the vase will basically suck up all of her mana. Layla is shocked when she hears this, and she demands to know why Setsuna has put something so dangerous on the table. Setsuna then reveals that it is actually a trap set for him, which is basically the 7th trap that he has uncovered. Layla is shocked to hear this, and she asks Setsuna if he is fine with the traps flying around. Setsuna mentions that he has been trying his best to avoid them, so he doesn't think he is in any trouble. Setsuna knows that the culprit is none other than Akhtar, and he is quite experienced because he didn't even leave any evidence behind. Just then, they hear some kids at the door. They step outside to see the kids holding flowers that are meant for them. The kids excitedly reveal that they were sent to deliver the flower by someone standing across the hall. However, by the time they turn around to point at the person, they find nobody. Layla asks why the person didn't come to give the flowers to Setsuna himself. The kids reveal that the unknown person claims that he is shy. Suddenly the flower falls out of the girl's hand, and she complains about dizziness. A dark aura swirled around the girl and Setsuna immediately kicked off the flowers because he had seen something like that in his past life. Layla is concerned, and she asks Setsuna what the problem is, and he reveals that the flower contains a poisonous grass called venenum. The kids start coughing, and they lose their balance. Setsuna and Layla attend to the kids, but Setsuna is already pissed that the culprit doesn't mind dragging kids into his scheme. Setsuna lets Layla know that they need to treat the kids quickly because the effect will become irreversible if it stays longer. However, Setsuna is worried about how they are going to find a healer to help them deal with the poison. They lay the kids on the floor, and Layla asks if their conditions need immediate attention. Setsuna says yes, but urges Layla to stay away from the kids. Setsuna is worried that there might be a chance the poison is contagious just by staying close to it. Just then, Layla tells Setsuna not to worry about the kids because she has it covered. She brings out the brooch that her mother bought for her, and just by seeing it, Setsuna remembers the brooch. Layla reveals that her mother embedded the brooch with healing magic, and she immediately activates it while kneeling above the kids. The healing magic kicks in, and the dark spots on the kids start fading away. Layla mentions that her mother gave it to her in case of an emergency, and she already deemed the kid's situation one that needs attending to quickly. Setsuna smiles, saying he is thankful for what Layla is doing. Setsuna then covers his body in aura before grabbing the poisonous grass. Setsuna runs away from where the kids are so he can dispose of the grass before it is too late, since venom is the most toxic of all flowers. Because of how dangerous the grass is, Setsuna cannot dispose of it in a crowded area to prevent the toxins from scattering. While running to dispose of it, Setsuna is already feeling the toxins creeping up his body. Setsuna runs to the sacred tree because it is the best place for him to do so. Just as he reaches the tree, he throws the flower in the air, and he whips out his mana blade. He slashes the flowers, ultimately destroying them. Setsuna then falls under the tree to recover his mana. Meanwhile, everyone is already waiting for Setsuna at the arena, and they assume that he has run away. The referee looks at his time, and since the time for the match has arrived with Setsuna nowhere to be found, the referee decides to give his verdict. He's about to automatically disqualify Setsuna so that Actar can be the victor when Setsuna shows up on the scene, saying he has no intention of forfeiting. He looks utterly pissed, but the dark spots are still all over his body, and when Actar sees this, he laughs out loud, mocking Setsuna. Actar doesn't deny the fact that he was the one who sent the flowers to Setsuna. Setsuna angrily asks Actar if he doesn't mind the fact that innocent kids are being affected by poison, but Actar tries to play a fool as if he doesn't know about the poison. Actar then says the kids should be happy that they are of use to someone of high status like him. This further pisses Setsuna off, and since they are both present in the arena, the referee starts the match. Without wasting time, Actar unleashes a long-range attack at Setsuna. Setsuna manages to dodge the strike, but Drago has sensed that something is wrong with him because his mana is totally unrefined. Apparently, Setsuna was able to purify the grass thanks to the tree, but because he was rushing, he didn't get the chance to purify the poison inside his body. Actar continues shooting fireball after fireball, aiming to bring Setsuna down as fast as possible. However, Setsuna is able to dodge everything even though it is taking a huge toll on him. Everyone can see that Setsuna is on the defensive, and Cyrus smiles evilly because his plan worked out very well. He is standing at the other entrance of the arena, waiting for Setsuna to be humiliated. Setsuna then looks into the stands and he realizes that Layla is still not back. He is worried about the kids and he hopes that they are fine. Actar notices that Setsuna is not concentrating on the match, and he uses that to release even more deadly long-range attacks at him. Setsuna's haters waste no time trash-talking him, saying there is no way he can deal with a long-range mage because all he has been doing is running away. Actar continues unleashing his blasts, and he suggests that Setsuna give up, but Setsuna plans to defend himself using Mana Guard. However, a large-scale attack comes flying at him, and his Mana Guard fails to contain the effects of the attack, and he gets hit badly, leaving cuts all over his body. Actar makes fun of him, telling him that he is already falling apart. Just then, Setsuna asks Actar why he is not making moves to finish him off, since the best play will be to prevent a close combat. Setsuna concludes that Actar is planning something because all he has been doing is provoking him. Actar is surprised that he is receiving a lecture from Setsuna, but he admits that he made a really good observation. He then tells him that he cannot be underestimated, and he urges him to look around. Surprisingly, Actar has created a huge pit of lava between himself and Setsuna. Setsuna is standing on a tiny pillar of rock while surrounded by boiling lava. The delinquent who bet on Setsuna almost chokes on his saliva when he sees this. Actar proudly reveals that he is not one to play around with risks. He mentions that what Setsuna is staring at is what he has been aiming for from the start of the match. Just then, Actar unleashes a storm cannon, and Drago is visibly worried when he sees this. Actar tells Setsuna that he is about to finish him off with the storm cannon. Suddenly, Setsuna hears Layla calling him from the stands to tell him that the kids are safe. The moment Setsuna hears this, he decides that it is time he steps on the gas and goes full throttle because he doesn't have to worry about the kids. Setsuna, who has been bending around in pain, finally stands upright to tell Actar that he is about to witness a comeback. Actar is shocked when he sees that Setsuna has recovered. Setsuna then tells him not to be too surprised because all he did was apply a physical boost. He reveals that he has been activating cells since the fight began so he could break down the poison ravaging his system. Setsuna lets Actar know that he is one who fell for his plan because he was busy breaking off the ground around them while he was healing himself. Actar confidently tells Setsuna not to get cocky because there is obviously nothing he can do in his current state. Cyrus agrees to this as he cheers Actar on, telling him to finish Setsuna off. Actar unleashes the storm cannon, and it heads straight for Setsuna. Setsuna weighs his options, and he prepares for a well-cooked plan, hoping that it is enough for what he is about to do. Just as the storm is about to reach him, Setsuna strikes it with his mana blade. It takes a toll on him, but he puts enough effort into it to repel the storm. This shocks everyone, especially Drago. Before the magic can reach Actar, he nullifies, while boasting that he can confidently take down his own magic. Actar makes fun of Setsuna, telling him that his strategies have run out and the fight is over. Suddenly, the smoke in front of him clears, and the next thing he sees is Setsuna approaching him with his mana blade in hand. Setsuna stares Actar in the eyes, asking him if he thinks the distance between them was enough to keep him away. With no way to defend, Actar gets slashed by Setsuna. The cut goes diagonally across Actar's chest, ultimately taking him down. Setsuna then tells him to seek forgiveness from the kids if he is looking for whom to forgive him. Actar passes out cold on the ground, and the referee declares Setsuna the winner. Drago smiles when he sees this, but suddenly the ground under them gives way, and the two start heading into the destructive lava. Setsuna realizes that Actar is unconscious, and he has no way of evading the lava. He decides to save the dude, and he applies some physical boost to his feet so he can move faster. He manages to grab Actar, and just before they fall into the lava, Carol uses her summoned beast, the Fenrir, to save them. Setsuna is shocked when the large beast appears to save them. The spectators are hyped by what they just witnessed from the representatives. The Fenrir gets the two to safety, and Carol pats its head. The medical staff show up to take Actor away while they attend to Setsuna. Carol smiles at Setsuna, saying he probably would have been fine without her help. Setsuna argues against this, saying Carol actually saved his life. Setsuna sees Carol as someone who has the talent and also the style that follows. Setsuna realizes that his preparation needs to be top tier before he faces Carol. Setsuna's haters have started realizing that Setsuna's win against Joel might not be a fluke since he just won against Actor free and fair. The haters know that things are going to be bad if it continues the way it is. Meanwhile, the headmaster remains calm while watching the tournament. Cyrus is pissed that Actor lost to Setsuna, and in rage he tells Setsuna that he is never going to forgive him. After he has been attended to by the medical staff, Setsuna heads back into the stands to meet Layla. Drago lets him know that he heard about everything that happened from Layla, and he admits that he had it tough. Setsuna then asks Layla about the kids, and Layla reveals that they are currently sleeping in the infirmary. She assures Setsuna that the kids are going to recover according to what the doctor said. Setsuna is pleased to hear this as he lets off a cool smile. Suddenly Setsuna feels a strange aura that causes him to turn around. Layla asks him if there's anything wrong, and he says no. However, he could feel the strange aura that was filled with killing intent. He wonders what exactly is hiding behind the tournament. A week to the final match, Setsuna is still worried about the mysterious presence he felt in the arena the last time. Setsuna finds himself training alone in the woods, and he also summons Lionel. Lionel asks why Setsuna has summoned him, and Setsuna reveals that he wants the professor to guide him just like he did before. Setsuna then decides to come totally clean by calling Lionel his full title, the Fist of Comet Lionel. Lionel is surprised that Setsuna knows about his old title, and he asks him where he heard it. Setsuna wasn't really sure about it at first, but since Lionel didn't argue against it, he finally confirms that Lionel is the one they truly call the Fist of Comet. This was a nickname that he heard in the Magic Corps in his past life. Fist of Comet was a powerful mage who was said to have defeated dragons with just a single blow. Apparently, Lionel had left the army by the time Setsuna joined, so he didn't get the chance to fight alongside him. Setsuna has been thinking about the whole thing, and without pride bows to Lionel, begging him to teach him his magic. Lionel scratches his head nervously, saying it's been a long time since someone has called him the nickname. Setsuna then tells him that he doesn't need to worry about that, and Setsuna admits that Lionel is the strongest close combatant that he has come across. Lionel then asks Setsuna why he is seeking such power when he is already strong enough already as he is. Setsuna then confesses that his power is not enough because he doesn't want to lose to anyone, even if he is going up against a damn deity. Lionel hears this and laughs out loud, while saying Setsuna is truly an interesting kid. Lionel then agrees to teach Setsuna his magic. He lets him know that he normally would not teach the magic to a kid whose body is still growing. Lionel then pulls his fist together, shocking Setsuna because of the immense mana gathering present there. Just from gathering mana, Lionel's fist pulls rubbles like a tornado, and he reveals that his magic origin is why he was called the Fist of Comet. Apparently, he can't use the magic multiple times because it consumes too much mana. However, one shot is always enough for whatever he wants to do, and he urges Setsuna to watch closely. Lionel lets his fist go, and this leaves devastating damage to the area of impact. Setsuna's eyes light up in excitement when he sees the amazing power that Lionel wields. Lionel mentions that the technique requires constant gathering of mana, which is why it is not suitable for one-on-one battles like the tournament. He then asks Setsuna if he still wants to learn it even with this disadvantage, and Setsuna says yes. Since Setsuna is willing to, Lionel suggests that they start their training. Meanwhile, Carol has made it to the finals of the tournament, and she will be going up against Setsuna. She has a team meeting with a strange fellow, and while she is not looking, she is attacked by the strange dude, who places her under some sort of spell in preparation for her match against Setsuna. A week later, Setsuna is looking very good during his training session with Lionel. Even Lionel is impressed, as he never expected Setsuna to have been able to memorize everything he told him in just a week. This was something that took Lionel at least 2 years to learn, but Setsuna has been able to learn it in a couple of days. Lionel commends Setsuna, telling him that he taught him the Fist of Comet, but Setsuna changes it up, renaming it to Charge Bullet. Soon afterward, the arena is packed with spectators, ready to witness the tournament final. The exhilarating final, which is between Carol and Setsuna, has everyone on their toes. Unlike before, people now think Setsuna has a chance, but at the same time, most believe that Carol will still emerge as the winner. The kids whom Setsuna helped are also present in the arena, and they are there to watch and cheer Setsuna on. This time around, the stage that has been selected is the Ruins of the Goddess.
His story isn't over. If you want to see how far he'll go to master his magic and face the evil god again, join us, subscribe, and witness his rise.